Good afternoon, class. I decided to give you a little brief tutorial, I guess, over Blackboard for some of y'all that realize what Blackboard is or you've been here for a few semesters. It's very simple to use. If you haven't been here, if this is sort of your first time going to college or using Blackboard, I'm going to briefly go through as it relates to some of the options and choices that you have for your particular course. As you know, my name is Patrick Wilson. I will be your English instructor for the next 16, 17 weeks of the fall semester. I look forward to working with everybody. I do have a number of classes. I'm doing some with English 90, English 1010, English 1101, English 1102. I just had a 2130, which was American Lit in the summer. I do have, I think I have 3 online courses, and then I have 3 sort of in-person, face-to-face courses. My main campus right now is the Camden County campus. Sometimes I do travel between campuses or among campuses. The closest one I'm, from here would be Brunswick or the Golden Isles campus, which is really where I live when I'm not at work. So I'm, briefly going to give you some stuff that will help you with Blackboard. I'm not going to go over so much of the syllabi right now or the syllabus for particular courses. I'll probably wait and do a smaller or shorter video on that, just because each class is going to have a different schedule to follow, different amount of work, different degree of work, depending on if you're 1010, 1101, 1102, that type stuff. But as far as the basic stuff, where to find the syllabus, where to find the assignment checklist, that's basically what I'm going to show you here. And I'm probably just going to pick one particular course, maybe a 1101 or a 1010 or something like that. It doesn't really matter which course I really choose, because the same options are going to be on that left-hand side. The only thing that's going to be different is really the textbook that we're using for that particular course and the weekly work that you're going to have to do. So I'm going to get that set up where you can, look over here at your screen as it relates to the Blackboard, and we'll go from there. Let's see here. So you should be able to see the Blackboard. When you log in, yours is going to have, it's going to look like this. Obviously, you're going to have your particular courses. On my end, it's going to show the courses that I'm teaching. And as you can tell, I have a pretty busy fall at the moment, if everything sort of makes, right? Because we're still sort of in that pandemic. We got these variants that are starting to creep back up, and certain public schools and stuff are shutting down for a period of time to clean and that type deal. But I'm happy and pleased that you are taking fall classes. For some, obviously, you're either going to like the online learning environment or you're not going to like the online learning environment. The only thing I can suggest is sort of learn from this experience. If you're one that doesn't really like it, then starting in the spring that you probably don't want to do online courses anymore. If you're one that is determined, you're already self-motivated, you sort of like to get stuff done ahead of time, then the online environment may be something that is helpful to you. So let's see here. I'm going to pick my 1101 online course. And again, it doesn't really matter which course I show you at this point. As it relates to the basic stuff that's going to be on every Blackboard English content page as it relates to my classes. If you look over here on the left, it's going to have the course, going to have the home page, going to have the syllabi or syllabus, assignment checklist. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Course textbook that we're going to use, announcements, calendar, lessons, discussion board, email, my grades. We do have a librarian that's going to be embedded in our particular class, and we will get you introduced to Miss Lorna directly. She will help you, especially as it relates to the research element of the course, which will really start happening, about the middle of October to the very, end of our semester, where we're going to talk about the research paper, the proposal, and the annotated bit. We will also talk a little bit about ProctorU as it gets closer. Each of your online courses has to offer one ProctorU event. Now that could be a major test, a major paper, a quiz, could be a midterm, could be a final. For this particular class, it's generally going to be the final exam, and it would be toward that last 2 days or that last week of our semester. And again, as it gets closer to November, we will definitely be talking more about that. You're basically going to need to have a working webcam, a working microphone, a decent working desktop or laptop, and you probably want to have really good internet connection. And obviously you're going to have to create your own ProctorU username and password as it relates to the ProctorU account. If you had a online course, within the last year and a half, then you probably have already had to create a ProctorU account. All that information should still work for you as long as you remember your username and your password. If you're new to the whole ProctorU situation, we will be sending out emails and PowerPoints. There's information actually at the bottom of your Blackboard main page that has some stuff about ProctorU. But my suggestion is that since this is going to be really happening the first week or two of December, which is toward the end, which is the end of our semester, I would definitely try to get your ProctorU account at least set up by week 8, which is midterm. That would be about the middle of October. And then I would probably make sure that you have all the required equipment, meaning you have the microphone, you have your working webcam, you got a working desktop or laptop that's not going to crash on you, that's not going to, do crazy things, and you got really stable internet by the time we go to Thanksgiving, because when we come back from Thanksgiving break, we basically only have about a week, maybe 2, if that. And then we get into the final exam period, which is really only 2 days. It's generally a Monday and Tuesday. So you have 2 days to do the final exam. And I will, again, like I said, as it gets closer to, before Thanksgiving, we'll definitely talk about the final exam and the ProctorU aspect of it in all my online courses, which, means at this point, the 2 1102s and the 1 1101. So we will talk about the ProctorU when it deals with that. So let's click on the home page, because again, I don't want to make this too terribly long. A lot of this stuff is going to be for me once grades start coming in, but a lot of stuff is going to be for you. It's going to talk about stuff that's been past due. It's going to talk about, what's new here. As you can tell, our librarian, Lorna, has uploaded some really helpful stuff that's going to be useful as it gets closer to the research aspect of the course, as it relates to MLA documentation, citation, works cited, in-text citations, that type stuff. You do have some retention alerts. That's going to be good for some of you. This is mainly for me, though. If you start missing work or if your grade starts to slip, then pretty much I would say probably at the beginning of each week, you're probably going to get some email alerts that's going to tell you how you've been, what's your status of the course, like what's your grade, is your grade above a 70, have you not logged in a lot, have you missed work, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we start talking more of the syllabus. But I will go ahead and tell you now, with online courses, they're pretty fast paced. You're generally, really what's going to happen with online, you're going to have sort of like a Sunday to Sunday, except maybe for the first week where it starts on a Monday. But generally your weeks are going to be Sunday to Sunday. You're going to have 7 days to basically get your work done that you need to be doing for that particular week, whether it's readings, whether it's discussion boards, whether it could be quizzes or studying for exams or writing essays or rough drafts, whatever the case may be. Obviously, longer papers, that type of stuff, you're going to have a period of weeks to do it. But just to give you sort of heads up, just about every Sunday, unless, it says otherwise in your syllabus, the assignment checklist, or if I email or put an announcement up telling you otherwise, about every Sunday, starting with week 1, there's going to be an assignment that's going to be due that I'm going to have to grade. So just keep in mind of the due dates. Make sure that you give yourself enough time in the 7-day period to study, read, and get everything that you need to get done, because the deal is with these particular online courses, and I'll show you here in the lesson section here in a minute. Well, let's go ahead and talk about that now. On your end, you're probably not going to see any of this until the first day of class, which would be, as it says, the 23rd. But on my end, because I developed this particular course, it's going to show everything that we're doing. So as you can tell, I pretty much have our weeks laid out from August 23rd until, December 13th or 14th. So what's going to happen is every week you're going to have a folder that's going to open up, right? This is basically going to tell you, and it's going to be the same for 1102 classes. The only difference is the work here is going to be different because, again, if you look, this is 1101, not 1102. So when you click there, if I give you PP means pages, that's page numbers in your OER virtual textbook, which you can find here. And again, it's going to be the same thing if you're having 1102. We're using an online OER textbook. It's going to be obviously a different title, but you click there and it's going to take you to your actual textbook. So you don't have to buy a textbook. That's what's good for this particular online English course or courses. The 1010, the 1101, and the 1102 online versions don't require a textbook that you have to go out and purchase. They're already sort of embedded in the course. So for the page numbers that are in the textbook, I provide those. For stuff that is not in the textbook, but I think it would be, good knowledge to have, or if I think the textbook, because let's be honest, the OERs are free, but sometimes they're not the greatest in the world either. They might have saved you a little bit of money as it relates to the bottom line, your back pocket, but when it comes to content, sometimes you need a little bit more to explain the situation that we're going to do. So if you look, usually with this 1101 course, I have it. I have units or weeks based into particular genres of essays. As you can tell, week 1 and week 2 are narration or the narrative genre. Weeks 3, 4, and 5 is description. Week 6, 7, and 6 and 7 is going to be cause and effect. 8 and 9 is going to be persuasive. Notice week 8 is basically our midterm week. And then we really get into the research aspect of the course starting week 10 all the way to about week 16. And then we have the final exam period, week 17, just a little bit of time in December, which is not a whole lot. So this is basically going to tell you, the dates, the 23rd to the 29th. This is what we're going to sort of discuss during the week. This is what you need to read during the week. And if you click on the folder, because you're going to have to do that, again, it gives you sort of an overview, and then you're going to find stuff here, right? As you can tell, the first paper or the first essay is going to deal with narration. You click on that, you download it. It's going to be a Microsoft Word file. It's going to talk a little bit more about what you need to do with the first essay. And again, we'll probably talk a little bit more about that midweek next week. Probably going to try to give you at least the Monday and Tuesday, the 23rd and 24th, to sort of work through some of this stuff. You get sort of a handle of what you're looking at when you click on to your particular Blackboard page. As you can tell, our first assignment is a peer review, right? It's really a peer review of essay 1. There's going to be 2 parts. The first part is going to be due Sunday the 29th by 11:59. And it's basically going to be, right, you're going to click on here and it's going to walk you through some of the situations that you're going to have to do. But really what I'm looking for is the rough draft of your own Essay 1. So again, you're going to download Essay 1 information. You're going to see what your topic is, what the requirements are, how many pages, how many words, that type of stuff. And then you're going to want to submit your rough draft by the 29th. Because when we come to week 2, you're going to have part 2 of this Essay 1 peer review, which at that point, you're going to evaluate one of your classmates' essays. So you're going to use this, what they call the CARES method of peer reviewing. These 5 questions, you're going to read a particular classmate's rough draft, and you get to pick, right? You get to pick which classmate that you want to read. You read their paper, they're going to read yours, and then each one of you are going to have a chance to go through these 5 questions, excuse me, and write some information that you can send back to that particular classmate to help them help themselves with the first essay. I will also suggest that you send me and Smart Thinking rough drafts of all your essays when and if possible. The more drafts that you send, not only to your peers for them to look at, to Smart Thinking to look at, to me to look at, the more sets of eyes generally means over time, your rough drafts are going to be really good final drafts. And it could be a difference between that A, that B, that C, that D, that F, right? I don't think anybody really woke up and say, hey, I'm going to take English 1101 with Mr. Wilson, and I'm deliberately going to just fail all my essays. I don't think folks wake up and say that. But I will say this, your first draft, if you turn your first draft in as your final draft, you're probably going to be lucky to get a low C. So you're going to have to go through the writing process. And a lot of that writing process is multiple rough drafts. Multiple drafts could be 3, could be 2, could be 10, could be 35, whatever it takes for you to get the grade that you want. Now, again, some of y'all, depending on how long you've been out of school and how much writing you've done within the last year or so, some of y'all may not have to do as many drafts. But I will say it's optional to send me in Smart Thinking drafts. However, I will say by the time we get to the last week of the semester, generally those that have the really high grade, not only on assignments, but in the course in general, are the students who actually started sending drafts week 1 to me in Smart Think. Now, again, we're all adults here. You can decide whether you think you need the extra help. Most students do. And they start to realize that really fast, that they need help, and they go ahead and take advantage of it because it's free. Both Smart Thinking and sending me drafts and sending your peers drafts are free. So really it's going to be up to you. I would work smarter and not harder, especially if you're trying to maintain the hope and the Pell Grant and all that stuff as you move your way through your academic career. I will say this, going back to the lessons, pretty much every Thursday, the next week folder is going to pop up for you. So if you get sort of done with the first week and you want to go ahead and get a head start on the next week, just in case if you got a lot of stuff going on in your life or other classes, then usually after midnight on Thursday, each week, the next week folder will pop up. Now, I will say this, at midnight every Sunday, the previous week, like week 1, so at midnight on the 29th, which is Sunday, that will close, meaning the week 1 folder will just disappear. You're not going to be able to see it again. So if you need to get anything from week 1, meaning you need to save anything, you need to download anything, you need to copy and paste, you have 7 days to do that. So again, what I would suggest is probably downloading this Essay 1 information so you can save it. Because I can't guarantee I'm going to move it over or keep it over to week 2, because really it's your responsibility as an adult college student to keep up with your own information and own stuff now from each week. Same thing with the Dropbox stuff here. At midnight, the Dropbox, the weekly folder, it disappears. And once it disappears, if you don't have it saved on your end, chances are I'm not going to be able to really put it back up easily, or at least in time to, really be much help to you. So again, every Thursday, the next week folder is going to pop up. I would recommend, especially if you got a lot of stuff going on, to sort of get ahead when you can, just in case something else, does pop up and you're, running up against a deadline or something. Okay, so let me show you real quick. So again, like I said, every Thursday, the new folder will pop up. Every Sunday, basically, you're going to have Sunday to Sunday to work on that particular week's folder. At Sunday midnight, week 1 folder goes away. Of course, Thursday of that week, week 2 folder is going to pop up. So there's always going to be sort of an overlap of folders. You just want to make sure that you get everything that you need to get done in one particular week. Done, download, save, bookmark, whatever you need to do if it relates to any of the material. Now, again, a lot of this stuff too is already in your textbook. So you're going to easily click back here, and that's what I was going to show you. Click here, it's going to take you to our online textbook, which for this class, the 1101, is going to be this Successful College Composition 3rd edition. So as you can tell, this is your textbook. Be careful because the page numbers here don't necessarily correspond with the page numbers here and here. So just be wary of that. If you find that you're losing track, come back to this table of content and look, because I give you the title of what you need to look at, and it gives you the page number. Most of the stuff in here is really quick read, meaning it shouldn't take you 7 days to read it. Now, if you want to read it over and over again, I mean, that's your prerogative. I probably would, especially if you're trying to get a grasp on a difficult concept. Most of you will probably find out that a lot of this stuff is just more or less a refresher from maybe your high school classes, maybe even earlier, maybe another English class that you took maybe prior to coming to this college. But really, there's nothing too terribly new as it relates to grammar, as it relates to basic essay writing and that type of stuff. So that's where the textbook is. If you click here, it says syllabus. Download that. Again, it's going to give you the course syllabus. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. I'll probably have a video maybe later this week or definitely at the beginning of next week. I give you an abridged version of the assignment due dates. Basically, it tells you what the assignment is and when it's due. Now, you can look at the larger, or the one that's really filled out, the assignment checklist. You can look there too. But if you're just looking for, to the point, what's due this week, then I would use the bridge. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and click here to show you what I mean by that. Because the other one is a little bit lengthy. I think this one's easier to use because it gives you the assignment, tells you what the assignment is, and then it gives you the due date. Now, if you look, granted, I did say that most assignments will be due on Sundays by 11:59, but there's going to be periods of time throughout the semester where you may have an assignment due at 11:59 on a Thursday, like that first essay for that 1101 course. Or if you look, we have some Wednesday assignments that are due. So again, depending on whether you're in 1101 or 1102, you're going to have a different sort of setup there. But you need to look at that. This is all going to be up here until the very end, so you can, download it multiple times. You can print it. What I would probably suggest that you do is keep a folder for this class and just download it with the syllabus and keep it in there so you will know what is going to be due and when it's going to be due. So there's no guesswork with that. Assignments, if I post anything, they will go here. Chances are they will go to your Coastal Pines student email account. Remember, Coastal Pines student email account and Blackboard are two different things. You can send emails through Blackboard. You just can't receive emails through Blackboard. Your Coastal Pines email account isn't your Gmail or your Yahoo email account either. And chances are, if you're using something besides a Coastal Pines email account and you're trying to email me, I'm never going to get it because of the firewall and the security measures that they put up. So I would strongly suggest that you use your Coastal Pines student email account that you should already have if you're a returning student. If you're a new student, they should have talked a little bit more about that, maybe in that virtual orientation, or your advisor or whoever signed you up should have gave you all that information. But you're definitely going to need to use not only Blackboard, but you're going to have to use your Coastal Pines student email address to be able to send me emails. The calendar here, you don't really have to necessarily worry too much about it. I mean, as you can tell, there's a lot here. I don't know what it's really going to show on your end, because on my end, it's showing everything institutional wise and other English classes. So that could just be more if it, I mean, I doubt it would show that on your end, but it may just show whatever courses and what's going on in your courses. I mean, it's a tool, you can use it, but it could be kind of, as you can tell, there's stuff going on here. And sometimes if you don't look at your ledger here and your color labeling, it gets kind of dicey. Lessons, we talked about that. Discussion board right now, there's only one really discussion board, and that's with our library service discussion board with Lorna, which is really going to be helpful, like I said, when we get to about week 9 or 10. And we had to start talking about the research paper proposal, the annotated bibs, how to get sources, that type deal. If we do have discussion board type deals, I will let you know. I'll probably give you an announcement or something like that, but feel free if you need to ask our librarian Lorna any questions throughout the semester, that you use this one, because it will go directly to her and she'll be able to answer your questions, or I could, try to, if it's something to do more or less with the library, she would probably be your best source. If it's something that's sort of, in between library and an actual English question, then maybe we can both help you. But this is going to be a really good resource. And you have all different kinds of stuff here. As you can tell on your side, there's Lorna's folder. I'm sure as she goes through this semester, she's going to put more stuff up here that will be very helpful. And this could be very helpful too if you're having to do a research paper in another class. Now, usually in my particular English classes, we use the MLA. At this point, we're going from 8 to 9 documentation and citation. But she can help you. Let's say you're doing a psychology paper, maybe with Mr. Hall or Mrs. Banks, and you had to do an APA paper. You can always ask her about how to cite using APA. We do have this librarian live chat that, when she introduces herself later, it'll probably be either later this week or next week. She can talk to you a little bit more about that. And how that would be useful. Email. Now, there's a couple ways here. You can, for me, I would probably have to use mostly all users. If you're just wanting to email me, you probably want to go to all instructors. And there's my name. You put in your subject, you type your message, you hit send or submit. Now, again, like I said, you can send emails all day long in Blackboard, and they will come to me. The only problem is you're never going to get emails back in Blackboard because I can't send emails back to Blackboard. So that's where you're going to have to go to your student email account. And it looks sort of like, pull this over, will look like this. Of course, you'd have to log in and stuff. Using that new login stuff, your username, and then your own personal password, which, I mean, you would know that stuff, not me. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you wanted to possibly email a friend or a study buddy, you can do all students, which again, it's going to send it to everybody. And if you look here in this particular group, there's, it looks like maybe 4 students who have invalid emails. So if you recognize your name in this 1101 group for invalid emails, you're going to need to get in touch with your advisor or the register or something before class starts, because you're never going to get any emails from me until that gets sort of worked out. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you have an invalid email, that could be the reason why you're not getting my emails or anybody else's. But anyway, you probably wouldn't want to send the whole class an email. So what you would probably want to do is go to single select users. You can pull a name over and you can send somebody an email there. I would strongly recommend, if you could, if you know anybody else that's taking this class that lives close by or that you're friends with, maybe on Facebook or another email platform, that you sort of have a study buddy deal going on, just in case something happens and you need to get in touch with somebody about what we did or what we didn't do for that particular week. My grades, of course, that's going to be a little bit more impactful, I guess, on your end once we start getting grades in. The grade center, again, on my end, it's going to show everybody's name, but on yours, it's probably going to show various grades once they start to pop in. I try to keep my grades up to date weekly, depending on what's going on. Like I said, I got 6 classes, 3 of them are online and 3 of them are in person. As you can imagine, essay writing is, it can be kind of time consuming, since we usually go up in the word count and the paper length each new essay that we have to write. We will have 5 quizzes spread out, 4 of them, and this is really for my 1101 group. So 1102 is going to be a little bit different, but you can kind of look at the assignment checklist. But I'm specifically speaking to 10, 10, 11, and 1101 here. Probably have 5 quizzes spread out throughout the 4 months. 4 of them will be grammar quizzes. 1 will be an MLA documentation and citation quiz. You will have over the period of time, and again, this is that 10, 10, 1101 group, 6 essays, 1 of the 6 being a major research paper, 1 of the 6 being your Proctor U final, and then you're going to have some individual components that go with the research paper as well. So I think overall, if my math is right, for the 1010 and 1101 group, you're probably going to have nearly 13 major assignments. And that's not really counting the peer reviews that we're going to do for each one of the essays. So you're probably going to have a little bit more than that, at least for the first 5 essays. You're probably going to have a little bit more than that, but definitely 13 is a good number to sort of base, give or take, your grade on. 1102, you're probably going to have a little bit more as it relates, because we deal with short stories, short fiction first, poetry, and then drama. You're going to have 3 exams. You're going to have 3 quizzes. You're going to have 3 discussion posts. You're going to have 3 what I call literary workshops. You're going to have 3 papers, one of them being the final exam and one of them being a research paper. And then you're going to have an essay that deals with short fiction and an essay that deals with poetry. But again, once you look at your checklist and you look at the syllabi, you're going to see how that's going to work out. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in due time next week. So that was sort of my whole deal at this point. I just wanted to give you some little bit of indication or direction as it relates to the stuff on the side of your Blackboard Bridge. And again, just real quick, if you look, you might be able to see, right, here's 1102, same deal. If you look on the side, it's going to be there, right? Syllabus, checklist, a textbook. This one is an introduction to literature textbook, which is what we use in 1102. calendar announcements. We got lessons, again, the same deal, week 1, week 2. You're gonna have to click this arrow down to see what you're having to do, and then you click on the folder and it tells you, right, just like 1101 and 1010 had something due the 29th, which is that first Sunday. You have your first quiz over the 2 short stories that we're having to read for that week. But again, we will get a little bit more involved next week. The other thing is that I'm going to try to do this time is, since we can't really mandate live lectures because everybody's taking classes or working, or doing something at different times, I can't force you to come to an online virtual team session, I guess is what it is. So what I thought about doing is each, maybe every Tuesday and every Thursday, sending out an open invite for my online courses who need help or want to get clarification on something. They can log in, to the Teams or the Blackboard Collaborate. We may do some of those. I will record some of the sessions because who knows, somebody in your class may have the same sort of issue going on or difficulty. But it won't be necessarily me lecturing for 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 75 minutes like I would be doing in an in-person class, because chances are you're taking the online version of the course because you live busy lives, that you're able to read this stuff online and sort of get a gist without, asking 1,000 questions. That's not to say that, I'm not going to be available to you. I am, but it's just been my it's been my experience in the past with some of these online courses, and I've taught a lot of them, that sometimes the whole live lecture stuff really doesn't, it's kind of one-sided, because it seems like if I hold a lecture one week, there might be, let's say there's 25 in the class, 5 people may show up. And of those 5 people, there may be only 2 that really want to talk. Well, that's not really a lecture and discussion, because it's only 2 people that's really talking, and then 3 if you include me. Sometimes I will hold a session and nobody will show up. So what am I supposed to do with that? I guess I talk into a blank space, or like what I'm doing now, and record it. And sometimes that's good because people get to sort of rewind and rewatch those again. But again, I don't want to waste anybody's time, the students' time, my time, holding a lot of these live lectures if nobody's going to show up and participate, because it's 50-50, right? Everybody's got a brain. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear your ideas. I don't want to just hear crickets and me being the only one that talks, because I already sort of know the reading. I know how to go about teaching this stuff. I already know what I'm going to say. I want to hear your ideas. So that's why I will probably try to do sort of what I'm going to be calling it is sort of like a virtual round table. And probably what I'll do it for specific classes and stuff, unless there's just a demand, maybe that first week or so, I may have everybody sort of come in. But that way, an hour or so, if you have a question, if you want me to go over something, we can do that. But as far as me just sitting up here and lecturing for 40 minutes and then taping it and then, all that stuff, I just don't see how that's going to be too beneficial right now. I mean, if it comes to a point where y'all wanting more of those, or if y'all want to start showing up on a regular basis, if I have more participation and more than 2 or 3 people that want to show up to these, then yeah, definitely we can do a lot more of the Teams or the Blackboard Collaborate. But again, I don't want to waste time or waste your time by setting these things up and nobody shows. It's not fair for me. It's not fair for you. And that's how we're going to sort of approach this fall semester as it relates to lectures. They're not necessarily going to be more or less lectures. They're going to be more set up like a seminar or a round table type deal where you come and ask questions, or if you want to get help, that type deal. All right, so that's going to be enough for me. I hope everybody has a whatever's left of summer. I know for some of y'all that are dual enrollment, you're already back in school. For some of us that are Not dual enrollment. The 23rd marks really the first day of your fall semester. So I look forward to working with everybody. And please reach out before the 23rd if you have any questions. And I will probably have another video come out later. Another Teams thing that you can kind of look at, and we will go from there. Have a good weekend, have a great day, and have a good first week.